Welcome one, welcome all, to the glorious, illustrious travel guide to North Korea. Now, I may not look at being round and terrible, but I'm an avid reader of travel blogs, and one thing that's interested me over the years is Country Counter's various expeditions to North Korea. See, despite the everything thing, North Korea actually has a small tourism sector. You can get in, so long as you're on a tour, provided by a pre-approved tour company. Now, do I need to introduce North Korea? Are we at that phase of YouTube yet? Might as well. North Korea is a totalitarian country that started out as one of the Soviet Union's side pieces during the Cold War and eventually became a weird little theocracy where the gods are these sharply dressed round men, the Kim dynasty. They are quite literally revered as gods in their country and have a propaganda game so strong that every North Korean from birth is trained to obey the sacred rulers. If you've heard about them, it's probably because they have a nuclear missile program that's turned quite a few heads in the international community. I could go on, but this is the internet. You already know what North Korea is, and you probably have an unflinching opinion on them, despite the fact that it's probably one of the least materially important opinions in your arsenal, right next to your Dark Souls 2 takes you'd kill a man over. So, people travel to North Korea? Well, some people. The vast majority of visitors are from China, which is unsurprising given they're surgically attached at the tip of Mount Baekdu, but in theory, anybody from any country is free to get in, provided they go on a designated tour. In practice, the American government will arrest you on the spot if you try to go there as of 2017, and the South Koreans are also forbidden from going there for obvious reasons. Also, Malaysia, for some reason? I mean, you never know, maybe Kim Jong-un just has some really strong opinions about pork satay he refuses to share with the rest of us. But if you're not in one of those demographics, you should be fine. But is it dangerous? Listen, there's no way to avoid the elephant in the room here. In 2016, a kid got arrested in North Korea for trying to steal a propaganda poster and subsequently was beaten to death by prison guards. I've been sitting here trying to think of a way to present that in a way that doesn't feel like a tonal bomb to the rest of the video, but to be completely honest, I'm not an American policeman and child murder isn't part of my repertoire. Here's the thing though, North Korea isn't the only country in the world to detain people for that sort of thing. Egypt is just as bad about bullshit arrests to tourists, and it's fucking Egypt. If JoJo fans can survive in an area, then presuming you have an IQ above a sea urchin, you'll make it out okay. Also, touching propaganda posters is specifically word for word what every tour guide will tell you not to do when entering the country. Basically, when in Rome, don't touch the fucking propaganda posters and you'll be fine. So, you take a look at all the different tours available in North Korea. There's tons of different companies, tour guides, and they are all lies. Here's something I noticed through all my research for this video. Despite the fact that tons of different companies offer tons of different tours across Pyongyang, every one of them is nearly identical, because there's only a handful of sites you're actually allowed to visit on those tours. As such, I've compiled a sort of walkthrough of the different locations, the statues, the restaurants, the people, all to bring this fucking surreal tour experience to you. Welcome to the North Korean Travel Guide. The only real important thing to note in order to not get in trouble in North Korea before you get on the plane is to either not take your electronics or buy new ones specifically for this trip. This is because the horny police's dominion is North Korea, and any pornography will land your phone into a bucket. You will never see this bucket again. But Goat, what constitutes pornography? Well, think about it this way. They're not looking for porn in terms of what E621 considers safe. They're looking for porn in terms of, I told my daughter she couldn't wear those slutty socks that show her ankles type people would think. They will inspect your books to see if they contain smut. They will look through your camera roll. They will frisk you to see if you're stashing a boobie somewhere on your person. God help you if you actually have them. The only way you're getting into Pyongyang is by air, unless you're Chinese. The Chinese can actually take a nice little train ride through the country to Pyongyang, and supposedly it's really cool, but something tells me my videos aren't getting much airtime over there, so I'm not gonna go on about it. In Beijing, you'll board your flight on Air Koryo, the only North Korean airline. Something you may immediately notice is that your plane looks like shit. Don't worry about it. If you're the type of person to worry about the plane looking rickety, you're not going to last 10 minutes into this trip without having an anxiety attack. Not helping your anxiety will be the video game hamburger prefab that will be served to you shortly after takeoff. Do not eat the Cyberpunk 2077 hamburger. I'm not one to be superstitious, but everybody that's made it out of the country and lived to tell the tale has not eaten this hamburger. Honestly, that might be the whole survival guide wrapped up there. Don't eat the burger. It's a psyop. Once you land down, you'll be escorted to a bus and taken into the city. Photos are allowed of pretty much whatever you want in North Korea so long as somebody doesn't tell you not to. The only rule is that you can't cut off the head of any of the leaders in your shots. Everybody in North Korea has a 100% save on Pokemon Snap. There is one hotel you can stay at as a foreigner, the Gupto International Hotel. This hotel is actually sick and has its own karaoke bar, bowling alley, 7-Eleven, 8-Eleven, 9-Eleven, coffee lounge, spa, regular bar, and several restaurants named Restaurant 1, Restaurant 2, and so on and so forth. The hotel has a lot of cool stuff on it and is absolutely massive, not counting the 5th floor. We don't talk about the 5th floor. There is a catch. You know how in every other hotel you can keep the little shampoo bottles you're given as a souvenir in case you connect to places via your hair like you're some kind of Bayonetta XP? Yeah, you can't do that here. If you get caught with any trinkets from the hotel when you leave, they'll take you aside and behead you for treason. Nah, just kidding, they'll take it back and get mad at you. Still fucking weird. I guess now is as good a time as any to cover food, since I mentioned the world-famous restaurant number 2. See, North Korea, unsurprisingly, has a lot of extremely untouched cuisine. Because of that, they're honestly the better pick between the two Koreas if your sole judge of a trip's worth is on food authenticity. All the kimchi, cold noodles, and other Korean food is gonna be fucking A. There is, as usual, a catch. See, when you're on this tour, you're going to be offered one of 2 food items wherever you go. The traditional Korean food, or the American Beef Cheeseburger Fried Barbecue. For all the tourists who go to North fucking Korea and are picky eaters. Everyone I read that's made the mistake of ordering Kim Jong-un's closest approximation of what a porterhouse is like has described anything from strange beef jerky infused with human sorrow to a brick on a plate with a cilantro garnish. Just get the Korean food. From here on out, everything presented to you is in any order that the tour guide feels like. What I find especially funny is that your tour guide is, in 90% of circumstances, going to be like, hey, why don't we go check this out today? Like they're winging it, and then you arrive and everyone in the building is waiting for you, like it's some kind of pre-planned tour or something. Your next destinations are, in no particular order, the Metro, the Revolution Museum, the DMZ, the school, various monuments that we won't cover, and, if you're lucky, the Arirang Games. We're going to go straight through them. So, something that you may notice as your tour guide buses you around Pyongyang is that there aren't any cars but yours on the road. This is because most people in Pyongyang that aren't like transporting heavy objects, or rich, get from place to place by bike, which is cool and eco-friendly but gives a kind of the mist vibe as you drive around. One day, however, you won't take a car, you'll take the train. You see, Pyongyang has a metro, which, despite the questionable circumstances, is still better than any sorry excuse for a metro I've seen in the States. It's all fancy and shit, and you'll only use it once, and not even to get to the farthest away destination. This is literally just the government swinging your tour by to say, hey, check out our cool metro, bet you wish you had a metro this cool back where you live, which is, I guess, fair enough. The metro will more than likely take you to the Revolution Museum, which is where you'll find the statues of the 2 glorious leaders, Kim Il-sung and Kim Jong-il. I guess Kim Jong-un isn't glorious enough to get his own statue yet. Jeez, that's mean. Normally you would go there on a separate day to give flowers to the statues and take your photo ops, but since they're right next to each other, we'll knock them out in one. Out of anywhere in the country, the front of these 2 statues is the one place to not fuck it up and be a moron, because any North Korean in the vicinity watching you do something stupid to these statues in particular are going to react like you bitch slapped the Pope. Okay, maybe that's a bad analogy because the North Koreans wouldn't start yelling World Star, but the point stands. The Revolution Museum is full of tons of memorabilia from the Korean War, except, from the North Korean side. It's all captured US tanks and bombs and planes and shit, with little descriptions about how easy it was to take the tanks and how all the soldiers inside were huge cowards and just a lot of my dad could beat up your dad type rhetoric. Their biggest prize is the USS Pueblo, a captured US spy submarine. You'll get a tour of it from a bona fide North Korean soldier who will give you a 30-minute talk about how much they hate Americans and their territory and how they fought the war against them. Then, with the comedic timing you only get from being a North Korean commander, they'll point to the most white American-looking tourist in the group and ask their opinions of the Korean War. That's you, by the way. Go get him, champ. Frankly, I don't know what would happen if you fuck up this speech check, because it's so easy I don't think it's possible past the age of 7. Just say something about wanting peace for both sides of the conflict and you'll be alright. Or, if you're not a coward, you can whip out the Alex Jones conspiracies and try to convince them that the Korean War never happened. You would almost certainly be pistol-whipped on the spot, but it'd be a fucking baller headline. Now, in order to talk about visiting the DMZ from the North Korean side, I have to talk about visiting from the South side first. The DMZ is the border between North and South Korea, the Demilitarized Zone for long. Going there from the South is a massive ordeal. If anyone from the south set foot in North Korea, it'd be a massive international shindig, so every inch of the area is patrolled by tens of thousands of guards on both sides. Despite being called the Demilitarized Zone, it is the most heavily militarized area on Earth. From the south, you get a massive lecture to be on your best behavior, you get a few minutes in the room with the North Korean border in it, and you are instructed not to look at anyone, not to touch anyone, and don't say a word to anyone if you want to keep your pinky. From the north? Yeah, who gives a shit? Just take the bus to the DMZ and let them fuck around. Do whatever. Because really, what are you gonna do from the northern side? You know, everyone from the southern side is wondering what the hell you're doing on that side of the Armistice House when you're very clearly you. If you're uninterested in political geography, this stop on the trip won't matter much to you. But if you're uninterested in political geography, then what the fuck are you doing on this channel? The last constant in all the trips I've seen is a visit to the Pyongyang School for Performance Arts. Have you ever wanted your own army of children? Just a bunch of little gremlins to dance for your amusement one day? Well, congratulations, because the Performance Arts School will let you fulfill that dream. Every class performs a special show that they've rehearsed for the tourists visiting, and it's fucking perfect. These kids have the discipline of a solid steel Buddha, and every recording I see of them has me frantically googling how far hive mind technology has gone, because they're scarily in sync and amazing. I have no doubt that a not insignificant amount of J.K. Simmons tier training went into these performances, but those are some damn fine kids. Do you really want me to say it like that? This last one isn't available in the standard 3-day tour. You see, back when Kim Jong-il was in charge, North Korea used to be way more open to tourism for one occasion. The Arirang Mass Games. The Arirang Games are basically a combination of the Olympics and Cirque du Soleil. It's both a performance by hundreds of thousands of extremely talented North Korean dancers, acrobats, and musicians, and an athletic test for anyone that would come, including Americans until about 2015. Alas, there's no way to experience the games anymore. Unless... Yeah, if you stay a full week, they'll actually give you a private showing of the games sometimes. It's hard to pin down exactly when, because believe it or not, North Korea doesn't update their Ticketmaster page very much. I mean, private showing is in quotes, because if you have any background in performance, you know what a dry run viewing is, but fuck it, let's get that sensationalized headline. North Korea forces 100,000 people to perform for one balding man? Has communism gone too far? That's about it for the sights and sounds of Pyongyang. I didn't touch on the other trips, like the other towns you can visit in the Mount Baekdu expedition, but we still have one important question. How do you get out? How are you going to escape North Korea once you get in? An impenetrable kingdom, guards on all sides. How are you going to make your daring, dashing escape to freedom? Same way you fucking got in, moron. Take the plane. If you made any oopsies on your trip, this is the place where you'll be reprimanded for it. Odds are you'll be fine, but just in case, make sure these things aren't in your luggage. Propaganda posters, propaganda pamphlets, propaganda books, North Korean currency, hotel shampoo, hotel coasters, hotel soap, snacks outside of the Air Koryo designated cheeseburger rations, pencil sharpeners, loaded guns, unloaded guns, pornography you somehow managed to sneak into the country, live animals, dead animals, and the most important thing to leave behind in North Korea, fear. You should feel good. You've done something that nobody you know ever will. And you're officially that crazy guy in the office who took a vacation to North Korea and lived. You will be asked about this trip for the rest of your life at every social event you go to. Enjoy the pit of hell you've dug for yourself. And thanks for watching. Hey, thanks for sticking around to the end of the video. I still have those back burner projects that are currently being held up by one or two things in particular. Hopefully we get those out soon, because they're pretty much finished, but yeah, thanks for watching. Subscribe if you want, share this video around, post it on those fucking, I don't know, deep into YouTube subreddits. Just do stuff to help the channel grow, it'd be great. It'd be pretty swag. But yeah, that's about it for me. Thanks.